What's up, everybody? It's Frederick Douglass Bussey. Today, we're talking about why story is the key to scaling in your business. And we're not talking about the conventional ways, three ways that story can be used to scale, to grow exponentially. Going to be exciting. I can't wait. Let's go to work. Welcome to another whiteboard session. I'm Frederick Douglass Bussey, founder of Icon Status. And if you've ever heard a story before, you know the compelling nature of a great story, right? But why does it matter when it comes to your business? And if you want to be able to grow your business, how does telling a story really impact you? It's interesting. I was just on a client call and we were kind of talking about how we can use that to be able to level up their business as well. I love to kind of share with you three ways that I think about it when we're talking to clients in terms of telling a story overall and building a business. If you're watching this on Facebook or LinkedIn, drop a comment below. Let me know where you're listening or watching from. If you can hear us, all good. Always got to do the mic check to make sure everything is on point. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, share this with somebody that you know would find it valuable as well, so we can continue to serve other people and other entrepreneurs. Story is an amazing thing, right? And the reason why story is so important is because story creates the framework for how we see the world, right? Everything that we learn about the world from the time that we're young is put inside of a story. And then that is the way that we translate the world going forward. And we'll illustrate that in a second. But when you think about your business, a lot of times we don't think about that in terms of story in itself. And when I say story, I don't just mean that once upon a time, so and so, Jack and Jill went down the hill to fetch a pail of water, right? I think about story in terms of what it really means in terms of informing us and giving us a picture of what the world looks like. And what does it mean for your business in terms of what you're trying to grow? Now, there's three aspects of story that I want to talk about today in terms of being able to grow your business and why these are so vital and so important. Hi, Amy. Thanks so much. Thanks for giving the mic check and let me know that the volume is good. And let's go to work and talking about this. So there's three areas that we deal with in the scalosity model, right? So all right. So we talk about three pillars, but I'm going to, instead of putting them as pillars, I'm going to put them in sections right there. We're talking about story, mindset, influence, and leverage, right? Now, mindset has to do with the framework. We talked about this a little bit yesterday on the whiteboard session, but mindset has to do with the aspect of how are we thinking, what is the framework for our thinking about our business, right? And so one of the biggest challenges that entrepreneurs face, whether you're a solopreneur and you're scaling your business, adding your team on, whether you're leading a team, whatever level you're at, there is a way of thinking, the framework that you have for that. And that framework is actually represented in a story, right? So what do you believe about yourself? As an entrepreneur, as a leader, what do you believe about your business, about your role, your perspective? What is a story that you are telling yourself, and how are you playing out that story in your business? Because if you have limiting stories, limiting beliefs in your story, for instance, if you believe that you're a failure, if you believe that you're always going to mess things up, if you believe that that the world is wicked and that it's evil to be rich and things of that nature, you're going to put a cap on this. And so there's a story that's built around that, right? So the whole Scrooge Christmas Carol story where the rich guy is the one who's filthy rich and he's also wicked and he's got this whole thing, right? And so Scrooge had to go through this experience to kind of break down the trauma, if you will, of what he has experienced in his life and why he hates Christmas and why he wants to steal Christmas from other people. And so in and of itself, that is a story that he was living into. And so we all have our own versions of what that story can be. What do we believe is possible for us or not possible for us? What do we believe is the necessary role that people have to play in terms of our business? I'll talk about that a little bit as well. But story is a really, really vital part. And so when we think about who we are, What is the story that we want to play? Even the people that we idolize, right? So let's say maybe an Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk is maybe somebody that you like visualize and say, that's who I want to be, right? Or do you see yourself as a Sam Bankman-Fried, right? You know, a young hotshot entrepreneur, supposedly out to do good, but actually doing fraud. What is it that you believe about the rich, right? Rich stories. Do you have a poverty story, right? In other words, have you come from poverty? Are you afraid of going back? Are you afraid that you're never going to really belong in upper echelons of society? Are you afraid of being successful? These are all stories that we tell ourselves. And so these are things that we live into. The mindset is a story, the framework for how we frame what we're going to do in business, what we're up to, and what we're out to create. Okay? Let me know if you're tracking what I'm saying, right? The next thing, getting a text from my wife here. Okay. All right. Good stuff. All right. So the next thing we want to talk about is influence. And influence has to do with sales, marketing, advertising, branding, all those different elements, right? But it also has to do with the fact that we are telling a story to our clients and our customers. There's two things that apply here. One is a story that they have in their head, and the other one is the story that we're telling them, right? What we want to do is we want to combine them, integrate them, so that they feel the same, they feel seamless. So one of the things I like to talk about is inception, right? Inception is when you tell a person a story in a way that they can see themselves so clearly that they believe the idea to work with you, to hire you, to buy your product was their idea, right? Almost like, oh, I never thought of that before. Oh, that's exactly what I was thinking. I can't wait to be able to implement this and use this, right? This is really, really important because the better you are at telling that story, the more powerful the connection that your audience will have, your clients or customers are going to have with you and what it is that you are out to create with them, right? So if you're marketing something, what you really want to do is you don't just create awareness. You want to create a story that's so compelling that it stands out and it's unique above everything else. And there's some great products, great storytellers are able to tell the stories in such a way that allows you to be able to visualize exactly what that means. A lot of the ways that, for instance, I'll give you a perfect example. It doesn't seem like it today, but there once was a time when having an engagement ring was not a thing, right? Having a diamond ring as an engagement gift from the groom to the bride, from fiance to fiance, was not a thing until jewelry makers decided to come up with a story to be able to tell that. And what you needed was a reason for them to be able to sell more jewelry. And so if you had to have this thing, and marriage is a thing, then you create this whole story that's designed around it. And so in essence, what they did was they transformed the Cinderella story, right? The glass slipper, the one item that identified that she's a princess. You take that and translate that in a way, you take a story that is relatable, that is familiar, that every girl had ever known from the time that she was young, and you tell that, and as you tell it to boys as well, so that now they understand this is what I have to do to be able to claim my princess, to claim my queen, right? And so when you lean into that, what you're able to do is be able to now capitalize on the role that every man wants to play and every girl wants to play, supposedly, right? And this is what society kind of started to build into, but marketers were the ones that started to be able to create and tell that story. The story of the American dream, the white picket fence. It didn't used to be that everybody owned a home, but this was a story that bankers were able to start telling people that this is what you want to be able to do. You want to be able to have your own home, your piece of the American dream. And so they started selling these tract homes with all these rows of houses and your own little piece of the American dream. The American dream itself is a story that they had to start telling people so that people could buy into the idea of a country as a whole, because up until the early 1900s, America was a country that was much a collection of individuals that had come from other places, immigrants, lots of different people that were all over the place, and people were still very much connected to their own cultures and not the idea of America as a culture, right? And so when you start getting the First and Second World War, you need to be able to coalesce people into the idea of what it really means to be an American, right? And not just an Irish who lives in America, a Polish person who lives in America, an enslaved person who lived in America. You need those different items to be able to sell that story. And so what does that allow us to do? Now we have 70, 60, 70 years later, you've got the mortgage industry whereby people just expect that they want to be able to buy a home. People judge the state of the economy on how well houses are selling, their ability to be able to buy or sell a house. And so story is a really important part of being able to build an industry. We look at different industries now that are starting to emerge, whether it's crypto or Web3 and the metaverse. All of those things are how are we able to tell this story to get people to be involved in it, right? And so there are like smaller stories that are getting people to buy in. This past week, Chat GPT, the AI, right? What does that really mean? And then different people have different versions of what they understand it to mean and how their relationship to artificial intelligence is going to emerge or evolve over the next several years. A lot of that is because of stories that we've already had in our heads, right? Movies that we've watched, Terminator, the movie where the robots take over the world and now the world is run by computers and the human beings have to fight back against that. Some people are scared of artificial intelligence. So your ability to be able to tell that story in a way that allows people to see themselves as being successful is really, really important. All right. The last thing I want to talk about here is leverage. And leverage has to do with people, time, and money primarily, right? How are you able to leverage your resources, systems as well? Those are the four elements of the leverage pillar in Scalosity. The way that story relates to that is when it comes to time and people, being able to tell a story to your team, right? That allows you to be able to collapse time, to get them to perform at a high level, to get the buy-in from them is really, really important. If you're the CEO of a company, if you're the leader of a company, your ability to be able to tell a story in a clear and powerful way so that people can buy in and latch onto that is really important. I remember listening to someone talk about this, and I can't remember where it was now, but they were talking about the fact that one of the things that they discovered when it came to retaining talent in their company was the fact that they had a challenge with being able to understand where the company was going. People, when they don't see the vision for what that is, where you're going, what am I doing every day, what am I working towards, they feel very uneasy, very uncomfortable, very dissatisfied, frustrated even. And so there's a lot of things that we have to deal with as an employee, that if you are an employee and you're not clear on what it is you're doing, you can't deal with those frustrations in the same way. Whereas if you have a great story that you're living into, that you're showing up and you're being a part of that every single day, you can see yourself, your role in this movie, this bigger picture that's being applied. Now you know what you're up to and you're much more focused. You're able to bring to bear all of your talents and your abilities. So story is a great way to be able to do that. Airbnb, when you look at the story of Uber, when you look at the story of even Facebook and things like that, all these great companies, Apple, Disney, they have great stories. And so people can understand the arc of where they are in that narrative and that journey. And they can see the role and the part that they have to play. And so they want to be a part of that because stories create meaning and significance for our lives. And if you don't have a story for your company, as far as where you're taking people, right, then you don't have the ability to be able to translate them or to transport them from the mundane of just doing the day-to-day work into something that is of a higher level, where they can have more character, more engagement, and really feel like they're doing something that matters. Stories help us to figure out ways to make the world matter. It helps to bring meaning to the world. All right. So those are the three ways that we can empower story to be able to explode your business. Let me wrap it all up like this. The reason why story is so important is because when you have those different layers, right? You have that story for yourself and your own mindset. You have the story that you can tell to your clients, your customers, and the story that you can tell to your team that they can all wrap their heads around and become a part of. What that does is now that you have 3 dimensions of a story that people can latch onto and everything is working to be able to explode your business. So wherever people are involved, whether it's you, whether it's your clients, or whether it's your employees and your team, vendors, partners, sponsors, or whatever the case may be, people can see where they play a part. They can see where they can do one of two things, which is to either feel successful or be successful. Now, I got this uh, from BJ Fogg, who's the author of Tiny Habits. He was a professor at Stanford, and the two founders of Instagram were the ones who were students actually in his classroom. And this is the principle that he taught them all the time, that you can build a successful company. We can do one or two things. You can help people feel successful or be successful, right? And by that terminology, story is a great way to do that, because story conveys emotion. Story allows people to say, oh, I can be the hero by playing my part, right? I can be the hero as a founder or entrepreneur. I can be the hero when I use this company to be able to help me to grow my business, if I purchase their services or their products. I can be a hero when I work here because I'm doing something that is meaningful and significant. I'm changing the world. I'm impacting lives. I'm helping customers to feel better about who they are. I'm really doing something that matters. And so if you can do those things, you're bringing to bear everyone's engagement, right? Customers are going to buy more easily, more frequently. Employees are going to perform at a higher level, and you're going to stop getting out of your own way as an entrepreneur, because you're going to be able to lead the team and to be able to now not just worry so much about yourself, but be able to tell the story that your clients need and to tell the story that your team needs to be successful. So let me know what your thoughts are on this whole thing about stories, how you can use it in this way. There's a number of different ways that we talk about breaking down, especially when it comes to influence. The story graphics part, we have a module called story graphics, where we teach you how to craft a story that your clients need to be able to be raving clients, raving fans, and to be able to spread your gospel of your business and your brand. If you are interested in potentially learning more about that, if you want more support in being able to scale your business to the next level, 7 figures and beyond, then send us a message, drop a comment below. Let me know how we can be able to work with you. Let's set up a time and we can have a call. We'd love to be able to support you in that regard. Also, if you're watching this on LinkedIn, Facebook, drop us a thumbs up, give us a comment, let me know what you're discovering through this whole conversation. How are you using story in your business to be able to grow it and to expand the potential for your brand? My name is Frederick Douglass Bussey. This has been another Whiteboard session. Thanks to those of you who stopped by for a second, a minute, or even longer. And as always, ever forward.